What is the need for the additional 800 agents?
Completely stay focused on violent crime throughout the United States and our cities most impacted by violent crime.
And the additional increment of 800 agents, would it enable you to go after more violent crime?
Yes, sir.
This exchange cuts straight into one of the most dangerous trends in modern crime: homemade, untraceable firearms flooding the streets, while the very agency tasked with stopping them admits it is understaffed and losing agents to other missions. As Senator Adam Schiff presses ATF leadership, the conversation reveals a troubling gap between rising threats and shrinking capacity, raising serious questions about whether the system is equipped to stop the next wave of violent crime.
You mentioned that at any one time, 100 agents could be essentially reassigned to work on immigration cases. That's 100 agents out of how many overall?
Good morning, Senator. That's 100 agents out of the total agent cadre, which is about 2,400 agents.
And I think when we got together, you mentioned that you still have to do some considerable hiring to get up to the capacity you need.
Yes, sir. The administration has directed us to increase our special agent numbers up, actual special agents up to 3,000 agents, which would bring us additional 800 or so agents to get to that number.
And what is the need for the additional 800 agents?
Completely stay focused on violent crime throughout the United States and our cities most impacted by violent crime.
And the additional increment of 800 agents, would it enable you to go after more violent crime?
Yes, sir.
Doesn't that indicate then that taking 100 agents away from dealing with violent crime to focus on immigration when you're already short 800 agents is going to have an impact on the mission?
I think that, look, any time we work on the areas that we're responsible for, whether it's tobacco, arson, or explosives, are all ATF's purview. Title VIII was assigned to us as a purview earlier in 2025. So in support of the administration's mission and also in support of our partners at HSI, we've done our best to have that be the least impactful, especially while we stayed focused on violent offenders that were illegal aliens. Again, gang members, as I mentioned to you in our conversation. And just recently, this week, we had in Title VIII operations a person that threatened federal law enforcement with a rifle and put on social media that they were going to empty a clip of 30 rounds into agents standing on the street. ATF agents promptly identified that person and removed that offender from the streets.
Mrs. Skate, I appreciate that, but I think it's really incontestable that if you need more agents to go after violent criminals that are using guns in the commission of crimes, then diverting some of the agents you already have, 100 agents, to work on immigration enforcement, often generally involving people who have no criminal record apart from being undocumented, is going to dilute your effectiveness. But let me turn to another topic, and that is we discussed the issue of these 3D printers and the printing of weapons. Are you seeing a trend here? Are we seeing more of these ghost guns show up in crime? Has it plateaued? What is the trend? How concerned are you about it? And what do you think we can do about it?
Again, thank you. We are seeing a trend as it relates to ghost guns, and I'll include in your definition of guns and we also look at privately made firearms as the description we use for 3D printed firearms and for drop-in auto sears, which can convert firearms to shoot fully automatically. This is a trend that we are seeing. Some of these items are printed here within the United States on a printer that can be purchased for a few $100s, and others are being brought into the United States through China. ATF has seen trends where these products are showing up primarily in jurisdictions that have very strict firearms regulations. In other areas of the country, we don't see much proliferation of these types of firearms. So regardless, ATF is focused on identifying those sources. And I'm sorry to tell you again, but we use all of the tools we have to try to identify who's manufacturing these 3D printed firearms. And one of the greatest tools we have is our laboratory here in Amandale, Maryland. They have the ability to identify the types of polymers that are used and understand where those polymers came from so that we could try to identify whether that firearm, after it was made, traveled in interstate commerce. But we also use DNA to identify DNA profiles that were present for the manufacturer of that firearm as well.
One last quick question. Are you seeing a trend in terms of what kind of crimes are being perpetrated with these weapons?
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, when prohibited persons find their way into receiving firearms, it's generally a gun crime of some sort, whether it's a shooting, an armed robbery, or other crime of violence.
Okay. Thank you. I yield back.
This exchange highlights a growing mismatch between emerging threats and enforcement capacity. On one side is a rapidly evolving criminal landscape, where 3D printers, drop-in auto sears, and homemade firearms allow prohibited individuals to bypass traditional safeguards. On the other side is an agency that openly acknowledges it is operating below the staffing levels it believes are necessary to confront violent crime at scale. The testimony makes clear that ghost guns and privately made firearms are no longer a fringe problem. These weapons can be produced cheaply, quickly, and often without serial numbers, making them extremely difficult to trace using traditional investigative methods. When combined with auto sears that convert firearms into fully automatic weapons, the risk escalates dramatically. What was once a niche issue is now becoming a mainstream challenge for law enforcement. The staffing discussion adds another layer of concern. ATF leadership confirmed that the agency is already short hundreds of agents and is actively trying to hire more to meet its violent crime mission. That admission alone underscores the pressure on current resources. When agents are diverted from gun trafficking and violent crime investigations to other enforcement roles, even temporarily, it creates a ripple effect across long-term cases. These investigations depend on continuity, specialized expertise, and sustained focus. Interruptions weaken cases, slow intelligence gathering, and give criminal networks time to adapt. The exchange also exposes a structural tension. ATF is responsible not only for firearms enforcement, but also for arson, explosives, and now additional enforcement authorities. Every added responsibility competes for limited manpower. While leadership may describe efforts to minimize impact, the math is unavoidable. When an agency is already under-resourced, shifting personnel means something else receives less attention. Perhaps most concerning is the nature of the emerging technology itself. 3D printing allows weapons to be manufactured outside traditional supply chains. Polymers, component kits, and digital blueprints make enforcement more complex. The fact that some components are sourced domestically while others are imported adds an international dimension to what was once a purely domestic crime problem. This transforms firearms enforcement into a hybrid challenge involving technology, trade, and cyber-enabled manufacturing. The laboratory capabilities described, analyzing polymers, tracing materials, and extracting DNA, show that ATF is adapting. But advanced forensic tools cannot replace boots on the ground. Labs can support investigations, but they cannot initiate them. Without enough agents to identify networks, conduct undercover work, and build cases, even the most advanced forensic capabilities have limited reach. The trend in crimes involving these weapons is also telling. When prohibited individuals obtain untraceable firearms, the result is rarely benign. The testimony confirms what many communities already experience. These weapons are showing up in shootings, armed robberies, and other violent offenses. That pattern indicates that ghost guns are not merely a regulatory issue. They are a direct public safety threat. At its core, this exchange raises a strategic question about priorities. If violent crime involving illegal and homemade firearms is increasing, then enforcement agencies must be equipped to respond at the same pace. Understaffing, reassignment, and expanding mission scope all work against that goal. Public safety depends not just on laws, but on the capacity to enforce them effectively. The warning embedded in this testimony is clear. Criminal technology is advancing faster than enforcement capacity. Without sustained investment, staffing, and focus, the gap will widen. And when that gap widens, it is not agencies that suffer first. It is communities. The outcome of this imbalance will be measured not in statistics alone, but in real-world consequences that law enforcement is struggling to prevent.